The fateful phone call that ended Kim Jong-hyuk's political career and the death knell for Han Dong-hoon from the perspective of ESQ, Andre, the dramatic story of the internal purge within the People Power Party begins with shocking news that the Ethics Committee has decided to expel Han Dong-hoon. This decision is currently awaiting approval from the party's Supreme Council, but has been slightly delayed due to the hunger strike of Representative Jang Dong-hyuk. However, according to the narrator's observation, this delay brings no hope for Han Dong-hoon. On the contrary, it further consolidates Jang Dong-hyuk's position. Jang Dong-hyuk's hunger strike has helped him establish firm leadership authority, and his stance on disciplining Han Dong-hoon makes it appear inevitable. It is clear that the expulsion process is proceeding methodically and decisively, and Han Dong-hoon's silence throughout Jang Dong-hyuk's hunger strike has led to his self-isolation. While Han Dong-hoon's fate hangs by a thread, another equally tense development involves former Supreme Council member Kim Jong-hyuk, who is facing a 2-year suspension of party membership. Before the Ethics Committee made its final decision, Kim Jong-hyuk made a countermove by filing a request to change the adjudicator, specifically demanding the removal of Ethics Committee Chairman Yoon Min-woo, citing bias. However, the subsequent development was a cruel bucket of cold water thrown straight at Kim Jong-hyuk. Around 8:40 p.m. last night, a party office employee called to inform him that his request to change the chairman had been rejected. When Kim Jong-hyuk requested a written explanation for the reason, the employee relayed Yoon Min-woo's instruction that notifying him by phone was sufficient. This detail reveals the extreme disdain and absolute power of the current leadership faction, as they feel no need to adhere to standard administrative protocols for those about to be eliminated. This incident, handled via a single phone call, enraged Kim Jong-hyuk, who took to social media to complain, asking if he was being treated like a member of the Italian mafia. He questioned the reasonableness of having someone with a grudge against him sit as the chairman of the adjudication and sharply criticized Yoon Min-woo for rejecting the challenge against himself. Without any written documentation, Kim Jong-hyuk argued that handling an important official decision with just a phone call defies common sense and challenged the party leadership to explain. However, according to the narrator's analysis, Kim Jong-hyuk's cries about ethics and procedure at this point are merely the faint echoes of someone who has lost all power. Yoon Min-woo's swift rejection of the request is a clear sign that the 2-year suspension disciplinary action against Kim Jong-hyuk will be approved immediately without any obstacles. Parallel to the legal battle is the desperate effort of the pro-Han Dong-hoon faction to demonstrate strength through a large-scale rally planned right in front of the National Assembly. They boldly proclaimed that about 100,000 people would attend to pressure the party. Han Dong-hoon himself, cornered, had to personally comment on forums to urge supporters to unite and pave a way out. However, the reality is much harsher than those delusional numbers. Calculations based on the number of buses chartered from regions like Bisan, Daegu, Changwon, Ulsan, Pohang, Gwangju, Daejeon, Cheongju, Cheonan, Asan, and Sejong estimate that only about 1,000 people have been mobilized. Even adding those traveling by KTX or private cars from the Seoul area, the maximum number would only fluctuate between 2,000 and 3,000 people. This is far lower than the 10,000 people the organizers registered with the police, let alone the 100,000 figure a pro-Han figure boldly claimed. This discrepancy exposes the severe weakness of the pro-Han Dong-hoon faction and shows that the momentum supporting him has dried up. The picture of Han Dong-hoon's defeat becomes even clearer with the disintegration from within his own faction. Those once considered close confidants are beginning to look for escape routes. Kim Ji-sik, chairman of the Songpa-gu Party Council, who was once classified as pro-Han, has now publicly requested to be called distant from Han, implying he has cut ties. Even Representative Jang Seong-guk, who was involved in controversies regarding sponsorship money, declared on SBS radio that even if Han Dong-hoon is expelled, he has no intention of leaving the party. An official from the Korea and Future Group also spoke up, asking not to be classified as pro-Han anymore. These moves show that Han Dong-hoon's ship is sinking, and those on board are scrambling to jump off to preserve their political lives. The division and turning away of allies marks the most painful end to the power ambitions of Han Dong-hoon and Kim Jong-hyuk. Based on Jang Dong-hyuk's resolute attitude and Yoon Min-woo's ruthless handling, it is certain that the disciplinary actions against Han Dong-hoon and Kim Jong-hyuk will be swiftly approved right after Jang Dong-hyuk recovers. The rally with its meager participation will become a laughingstock and will fail to create any pressure on the party leadership. Instead, it will expose the weakness of the Han Dong-hoon faction. After being expelled, Han Dong-hoon will fall into complete isolation as former allies like Jang Seong-guk continue to pledge loyalty to the party to keep their seats. It is highly likely that Han Dong-hoon will face subsequent legal investigations without the party's protective shield, while Kim Jong-hyuk will fade into oblivion as a failed politician eliminated by a single phone call. The story of Yoon Min-woo's cold phone call and the disintegration of Han Dong-hoon's faction is a fierce testament to the rule that history is written by the victors in politics. It shows that when power has tilted to one side, all rules or loyalties become meaningless, and the defeated will be discarded without mercy. The collapse of Han Dong-hoon is not just a personal failure, but a lesson about the delusion of power and missed opportunities. Does Han Dong-hoon have any trump card left to turn the tables, or will he accept this bitter end? Please leave your comments and opinions below. And don't forget to follow the ESQ Andre channel to continue updating with the sharpest and most authentic political analyses on the next hot developments.